Hello and welcome to The Hash, live from East Denver. I am talking. I hope you can hear me on this microphone. Welcome to The Hash. This is kind of a funny experience because Will and I are here in Denver, Colorado. Sondali and Jen, they're here on the screen. We're going to try to make this work to the best of our ability. Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin just got off the stage. He had a big speech. We're going to get going on this thing, and we're going to start with Will. Will, throwing to you. What's your story today?
That's right. Big V was on stage, but we're talking about Tesla right now. That's Elon Musk, another billionaire who's making a lot of head waves around the globe. What we see here, he's mad at the SEC. He's always mad at the SEC, right? Typically, is what he does. So in this new report we have, I think it's out of CNBC, he's talking about basically how... we got a lot of stuff going on here. Basically, we got how he's upset with the SEC and how they've been handling dispute over a 2018 case where they silenced him. If you go back through the meme book, you can see that in 2018, the SEC said to him, hey, you need to have a babysitter on your Twitter account. They also fined him for tweeting out some iffy tweets about the stock price of Tesla and saying if they should take it private or not at 420. And now, 3-4 years later, he's looking at it being like, hey, this was kind of funky. This was not something that you guys should have done. We're also wondering where this $40 million that you fined and should have been given out to shareholders went to. Hasn't been distributed to date. It's still sitting in the SEC's coffer. So he's asking the SEC for clarity around what happened there. Jen, I'm going to throw the story up to you. What's your take on it? Elon Musk is obviously always in the news, but this seems to be like a little bit more important given the SEC's play within the larger crypto space and within the larger equity markets.
Yeah, Elon has been on a tear lately when it comes to governments. He's even been taking a few stabs at the Canadian government. When I was reading this, though, I had to side, I think, with Elon. So if we look back at the tweet that he tweeted in 2018, he said, I'm considering taking Tesla private at $420, funding secured. And so the SEC went on to say that this is a disservice to consumers. He's misleading consumers. And when I look at that, I mean, he's saying he's considering taking it private, right? Things can definitely change. And this is purely my opinion. But I feel like if he had said that in an interview, let's say with a news organization, it wouldn't be such a big deal. I think the SEC is so closely watching his Twitter for reasons unknown. And the fact that $40 million that was supposed to go back to consumers who were allegedly hurt by this tweet has still not been distributed, and it's 3 years later, I think it adds to his argument. I think it's pretty strong. But Sondali, I'll pass it up to you.
Thanks. I totally agree with you on that. But also, like, just one thing to point out, we know that Musk has a little bit of a tendency towards obscuring attention on often negative issues concerning Tesla or himself by either tweeting about crypto or something else. And although I think he's raising some valid points in the letter, especially asking why the SEC hasn't paid out the investors, there's also like a risk that he might be deflecting. Reuters, for example, reported that the letter was filed 8 days after California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing sued Tesla over allegations that Black workers had to tolerate racial discrimination in a California plant. Also, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration apparently opened a formal probe into some 400,000 Teslas after receiving complaints about a braking incident. So a lot going on here. Will, I saw your hand. I'm going to pass it to you.
Yeah, I just want to jump on what Jen was saying. She said that there's no reason for the SEC taking on this case with Elon Musk. And I think from their perspective, and perhaps this is unfair, but devil's advocate here, their concern with it was basically him manipulating the stock price of Tesla. Basically, as the CEO, chairman of Tesla at the time, his tweets were having an active impact on the market price of Tesla, which could impact tons of different shareholders, even retail investors. So that was basically their critique of it. But Zach, I want to throw it back to you.
Thanks, Will. I see you. I just want to say that it is funny to see market manipulation in the Twitter space, pretty much existing rampantly, right? You've seen Elon Musk tweet about Doge temporarily moons and goes and does its own thing, right? You see this happen in crypto markets in a much more sort of raw and naked way. So to hear this conversation relative to securities law is interesting, different than what we see and we're kind of inured to in the crypto space when it comes to big figureheads like Elon Musk going out on Twitter and saying how great Dogecoin is or something.
It's all like crypto. It's all like crypto. Everything's the same.
I guess so. So, anyway, that's all I got. I think we should change topics.
Well, who's up?
Oh, and also, I will say, it hasn't stopped Elon from tweeting spicy. This morning, some questionable memes were shared in relation to the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So the chilling effect's not too chilly. So anyway.
No one's stopping
also,
Elon.
If I said no reason,
but
I didn't mean no reason. I just meant all these years later to refer back to that. So I'm with you,
well,
Will. And
Jen, that's how it came across.
I know. I'm sorry, but thank you for correcting me and bringing the other side of the story.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one, if that's okay. Let's move on. No more Musk. So in a new research report, Bank of America has said Chainlink could accelerate the adoption of next-gen blockchain use across finance, insurance, supply chain, gaming, and gambling. So in numbers, which we all love, Chainlink is the likely driver behind the growth of DeFi's total value locked to $203 billion as of Tuesday. There are over 1,000 projects that use Chainlink's network, and companies like Associated Press, AccuWeather, and Sportmonks have launched Oracle nodes to monetize their data. The bank said as of Tuesday, Chainlink oracles had more than $60 billion in deposits, up from $7 billion at the end of 2020. We've seen so many headlines recently about companies kind of tapping into Chainlink and just in general about their crazy growth. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm going to go with Zach first. Yay, Zach.
First of all, shout out to whichever Link Marine infiltrated the Bank of America, because this is super crazy to see, right? Some research analyst was looking at DeFi coins and they're like, yes, Link Moon. And they're like, we're doing this. To identify like this as the sole catalyst, and forgive me, I'm not super familiar with the port, but there's so many other factors that have gone into the staggering growth of DeFi in the last 2 years, whether that was Compound, rolling out Comp, and this sort of revelatory concept of yield farming. All this stuff has come along in parallel with Chainlink and the Oracle services that it provides. So to single this one out was a little bit weird, but I'm still not over seeing big banks do reports about obscure, well, not obscure, but relatively obscure coins. And I think this one to me really stood out. So anyway, I'll toss it to, I gotta look at the screen down here. I'm gonna toss it to Will.
I've said this once on the show, I'll say it again. I got to laugh the first time. But God give me the confidence of an associate banking researcher issuing a new report on crypto. They always come out with these huge headlines that necessarily don't really make sense. They're just like, hey, I work for a bank. It's going to get in the headline. I can take whatever take I want. I don't have to research it that much. That's my first take on this. I will say, though, Chainlink does have a very important part in the larger DeFi ecosystem. And if DeFi grows, Chainlink is going to grow. What Chainlink does is basically operates as a pricing tool for all these DeFi applications. If you want to take out a loan on Compound, well, oftentimes you're going to have to use some sort of Chainlink application to get a price for that mechanism itself. I actually don't know off the top of my head if Compound and Chainlink work together. I don't think they do. But there's a ton of different applications in the DeFi landscape that do use Chainlink. Chainlink is going to be very, very important going forward. And that's why we're here, Zach, right? DeFi, East Denver, right? Big stuff.
Chainlink is upstairs. We're in this weird sort of old auto dealership. It's a very interesting little place. Chainlink is here. DeFi is a major topic of conversation, as are DAOs, NFTs, and the whole Web3 menu. Lots going on.
It is funny to see this report, just to kind of cap off the conversation. NFTs have obviously been like the thing this year. No one really saw that coming. Even Vitalik, who was on stage a second ago, he mentioned earlier this year, he didn't see the NFTs being a big thing. Never saw it really happening. It did happen, and it continues to be a thing. But here we see a banking giant coming in and saying, hey, pay attention to the fundamentals. Chainlink is still important. DeFi is still important. I think that kind of gives you like the long tail look of where all these crypto applications are going. NFTs obviously are having their time in the sun, and we'll see what happens over the next few years. But it's important to keep like the eye on the things that are actually moving the goalposts forward. Sandali, I'll throw this one up to you, though, for your take on it.
thanks.
guys
I saw
just
Jen's
not
hand
see
actually.
me raising my hand.
Jen, hi.
I'm going to have to
I'm gonna
enact
toss
that
this straight
free
up to
Jen
you.
movement. You're going to blame the technology
I'm
here.
upset after her last comment.
Well, I mean, I was going to say a lot of the same things. Every time I see a Bank of America report or a report from any bank, I just kind of chuckle a little bit. But the report points to a whole bunch of different industries. So finance, insurance, supply chain, gaming, and gambling. And they say that all these industries can be accelerated by Chainlink. And to Zach, I don't know why I called you Jack. To Zach's point,
Jack.
there are so many other solutions out there, and it's so interesting that they looked at Chainlink. And I do think, if all of these industries are looking at blockchain solutions, Chainlink definitely can bring that real world data into the smart contracting. But it's just very funny that they really narrowed in on this one solution and left everything else out of the report. And it feels like they just learned about it and it was really exciting for them. And when they learn about another solution, we'll be sure to get another report.
I like Zach's take. I think a Link Marine infiltrated Bank of America and had a report issued. That's the only thing that makes sense. Yeah. Appreciate the Link Marines going the extra mile.
All right. We're going to leave it there. We're going to take a break. I'm looking at the two-shot.
Oh,
hey, two-shot.
big
How's
shot.
it going? This is me and Will. We're here in person. All right, we're going to take a break. The Hash is going to come back to you right after the break. And when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about Snoop Dogg and his latest NFT and metaverse ambitions. Stick with us. Some of us are coming to you live from East Denver. We'll be back in a bit. Hope you're having a good one. Hello and welcome back to The Hash, live from East Denver today. I'm going to turn to my solo camera and introduce the next story. The next story is Twitter, big old social media site, added Ethereum wallet support to its in-app tipping tool. So this happened last year. They rolled out Bitcoin support. You could put in your Bitcoin wallet address and people could send you tips in your Twitter. They've added a bunch of other options, including, I think, Venmo is in there. But as of yesterday, this is new, Ethereum wallet support is officially supported. So if you wanted to send a little bit of Ether or a stablecoin or any ERC20 token of your choice to, say, your favorite creator, you can do that now if that creator signs up to accept tips on the Ethereum blockchain. Kind of interesting timing. Obviously, we're here in East Denver. I'm not sure this was timed to that announcement. No one from Twitter is on the ground, I learned yesterday. But the timing couldn't have been better to roll out something that got a lot of people here excited yesterday. So, Will, I'm going to throw this to you for your initial thoughts. First, we had Bitcoin. Now we have Ethereum. Jack Dorsey, a little bit out of the picture. That's a nice little subplot. I'm going to toss it to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, there's definitely a nice little subplot here with Jack Dorsey leaving, and immediately we see NFTs rolled out to Twitter, and now native tipping on the Ethereum blockchain. Obviously, there was something going on in the backdrop here, maybe on the executive level, maybe not. Hard to say what's going on in the back scene. Can't always say. Maybe it wasn't like as nefarious as I'd like to think. It'd be kind of dramatic. That'd be interesting. But the one thing that captured my mind was how expensive it is to use Ethereum, and what's the point of it if you're just going to tip someone for $2 and then you have to spend $50 on the fee, doesn't really make sense. And that's the take most people had on Twitter actually about this yesterday when the news came out. They're saying, why not integrate something else? There's a lot of scaling technologies out there right now. A lot of them are here today at ETH Denver. They're going to be showing off the new tech that they've been rolling out over the last 2 years, figuring out how to make Ethereum transactions cheap. Twitter, they're Web 2. They may be a little slow. They're still going to use the Ethereum base chain, which is more and more becoming a place for whales and not for the minnows. So, just have to leave it there. Maybe we'll figure it out, though. I bet we see something else in the future, so we shouldn't be too harsh.
Yeah, I think the scaling thing is absolutely right. But this is a really interesting example of like Web 2.5, right? At core, these blockchain things, they're just protocols that you can plug into various applications. And Twitter seems to be continuing its experimentation around Ethereum protocols that it's putting into its service right here. So interesting to see this sort of hybrid. You have a Web 2 giant really going hard on Web 3 lately with the NFT verification and now this tipping functionality. It's going to be interesting to see what they do next, and hopefully there's a scaling solution somewhere along the way. All right, Jen, I'm going to throw it to you. I don't know if your hand was up, but I'm putting you on the spot. Take it away.
Thank you. So when I think about Twitter, it's not a platform where I think I would go to tip the creators that I enjoy watching, right? I think about YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, when I think about tipping people for content, because the content on Twitter is so short form and just so quick, right? And so that's what I thought when the Bitcoin feature was launched. I still think that now that the Ethereum feature is launched, I would love to see the data as to how many people are actually tipping in Bitcoin. And I wonder, just like you guys are wondering why they launched the Ethereum feature, but I think if we think about where they're going, and we look at that New York Stock Exchange story that we spoke about yesterday, it just seems like Twitter is thinking about themselves. Thinking about revamping themselves in a Web3 environment, right? So I think that this integration maybe tells us that they're going to be a bigger player in NFTs as we move forward. I can see people maybe looking to tip in Twitter Spaces. So maybe they're gearing up for that. When you enter a Twitter space, maybe you can tip the people who are commenting and talking. And so I think these small integrations are laddering up to something much bigger. So I agree with you. Web 2.5. Let's see what happens next at Twitter. But Dolly, I'll pass it off to you. Oh, well, tell me how I'm wrong.
Your choice. Who do you want to hear from?
No, go ahead.
I'll take it. I'll
take it.
Okay, no, I actually want to be a little controversial and ask, has Twitter already figured out the Web3 plot before Web3 even got a chance to do it?
I couldn't hear you, so I couldn't answer that.
Oh, well, that's fair. Jen, Tandeli, I want to hear this from you. Looking at the situation, a lot of these Web3 products, what they're saying is, hey, you can own your own data, and you can tip natively or use money natively on the internet in a seamless way across the board. Twitter's enabling that right now, and they are known as a Web 2 giant, right? They're founded in 2005, 2006. They've been around. Their name is right there with Facebook. It's right there with Instagram. It's right there with WhatsApp, all of those other big Web 2 giant brands out there. And they're the ones moving forward with these integrations on the money side. I'm wondering if it's going to sweep the legs out from under the Web 3 movement. Or maybe it's just Twitter is ahead of the curve and able to figure out this whole Web3 adoption before the others like Facebook, like Instagram, like LinkedIn can even move in that direction. Sandali, I'll throw it down to you just for a reaction from that.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get ahead of the game, to be honest. And just like looking at the countries they enabled tipping with this time. They went for, I think it was Nigeria, Ghana, and India. I mean, this is these are interesting choices and very carefully picked because they're all super tech and social media savvy, young, and despite some regulatory issues, kind of fast adopters of crypto as well. And we know there's Bitcoin tipping already enabled. So I think Twitter definitely has a long-term strategy, and they're playing for both ways. Like whichever goes, we're ready for it. I don't know what if Jen agrees, but I think they have a long-term plan definitely in place.
I agree that they have a long-term plan. I am excited to see what kind of new entrants are going to pick up momentum and how they respond to that. And so that was my way of giving no answer, really. But Will, I would love to remind you that there is... There is video footage of you on this show saying that you would tip me in Bitcoin on Twitter, and that still hasn't happened. And so I'm just reminding you.
Show me the receipts and I'll do it, Jen. You show me those receipts and I'll do it.
Okay.
But honestly, your tweets don't deserve a tip. I need some better tweets from you before I tip you.
That was not
He has
part
an
of the
actual
agreement.
mic. Don't drop that
wasn't part
mic,
of
Will.
the agreement. You never said I had to tweet good tweets to get a tip. You just said, I'll tip you, Jen.
I need something interesting. You're close to an unfollow unless we pick it up a little bit here.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry. But oh well.
That's okay. It's okay.
Jen,
I think Zach had to say,
All right, last thought. I mean, Twitter is obviously where the Web3 conversation is right now, so clearly they want to be involved in that space as much as possible, but it's interesting to see Twitter cement its role in the Ethereum world. Anyway, Jen, you're next. Take it away.
I am so excited about this story because I get to talk you guys through the history of Snoop Dogg's career. And so, if Snoop Dogg looked a little happy at the Super Bowl, it wasn't just because he was smoking weed before, it's because he just purchased Death Row Records. And this is really exciting because Death Row Records was the label that launched his career in 1993. And so I need to give you a brief history so that you can truly appreciate this story. In 1998, he left the label over a contract dispute and the alleged withholding of royalty payments. The label went bankrupt in 2006 and was auctioned off to Wide Awake Entertainment. It was then sold to E1 and was acquired by Blackstone after that. And now in 2022, Snoop owns the label and the ability to monetize his work and the work of others who a lot of the albums on that label are made by some of his close friends, some who were performing with him at the Super Bowl. And what he's going to do is take that label into the metaverse. So he wants to be the first NFT music label, the first major record label in the metaverse. Snoop has been a rapper that has been very much in the public eye, I think, when it comes to NFTs in the metaverse. I know there are a lot of other musicians still trying to learn about it. But this was a really exciting story for me. I think the whole idea behind Web3 is being able to own your content, own your data, and monetize it. And so this felt like an awesome redemption story if you know the history behind Snoop and what he went through with Death Row. Zach, I'm tossing this down to you. What did you take away from the story?
Yeah, that was a great history. Thank you for that. You got to get the Suge Knight stuff in there next time. But other than that, that was A+.
We didn't have time.
I think it's super interesting, and obviously, no, it's good. It's good. It's all good. So anyway, yeah, it's very interesting to see this happening. Snoop Dogg obviously has been sort of, again, one of those leading edge entertainers who have really like embraced the space. There are some unconfirmed reports that he's also like a massive NFT collector, one of the more prominent non-NFT collectors on the internet. That may or may not be true. It's not confirmed yet. But the fact that he's doing this and sort of continuing to, invest in this space in a way that is potentially meaningful, super interesting, right? Whether or not this makes his sandbox activation like the place to be, time will tell. But the fact that he's, again, doubling down on NFT and metaverse around music specifically this time stood out to me, and again does speak to the ownership economy in a way that is very in keeping with the current conversation. So those are my thoughts. Well, how about you?
Conspiracy that he was actually a huge Ethereum whale. There was some conspiracy on Twitter that Snoop Dogg owned a very large anonymous Twitter account that was known for its trading tips, and that he owned a ton of ETH along with the NFT collection. And I don't think anyone got to the bottom of it, which really just brings you back to the whole point of decentralized money and being anonymous and like kind of protecting your own bag here. I don't think it was true, but I think it was like a fantastic rumor in a sense. It's just hilarious to think of Snoop Dogg really digging it up on crypto Twitter with everybody else and LARPing up below like inverse brow and stuff like that. This story, I think, brings some more attention to the NFT space in a way that we haven't seen in the past. So let's just like rewind the clock. And Jen, I love what you did with like the history of the rap group here, but also the history of NFTs. Last year we've seen in January, February, we saw this initial pump with NBA Top Shot. And then we saw a lot of these PFP, the profile picture NFTs pop up kind of at the end of the summer. And then through the end of this year, we've seen a lot more of these brands get involved and even these music labels. And so I think if you kind of look at like that arch of the three things so far we've seen with NFTs, this one probably has the most money behind it. Snoop Dogg obviously has a big bag. And if we see more music labels take this technology and run with it, I think you could see NFTs continue to be a mainstay within crypto and maybe even bring some more mainstream adoption. The amount of people I've talked to this year who got into crypto because of NFTs is astounding. The way someone put it to me recently is it's probably the best medium for onboarding crypto users ever. I mean, there's always been problems with wallets. There's always been problems with seed phrases. There's always been problems with sending crypto. NFTs is very simple. It's like, oh, I have like this picture in my wallet, and I have a little password with it, and it's mine. I don't need to share it with anybody. I can show if I want to somebody. It just makes sense to most people in a way that crypto, Bitcoin, a lot of these things, they're not intuitive. And so I think something like Snoop Dogg coming into this space is only more bullish. And of course, after I say this in like a week, the whole market's gonna like drop, and there's gonna be the bucket's just gonna collapse. So I'll throw it back to you.
No, man, I think that's a great point. Just the fact that like, you know, culture is the leading edge here, right? Finance is kind of dorky and like meh. But once Web3 intersected with culture, all of a sudden, oh, okay, wow, people are opening their eyes to it in a new way, which I think is quite fascinating, and certainly the story of 2021 and NFTs. Sandali, I think your hand, I don't even know, but Sandali, take it away.
No, I just wanted to, I totally agree with what Jen said, and I think that if artists and record labels, particularly one with this kind of history with Snoop, are coming in and setting up NFT collections which are verified and legitimate, it could like help vamp up how NFT royalties work, and when it comes to music as well, how all this is going to play out. And I think it's like super, super exciting. I was worried a little bit that, you know, record labels have a long history and reputation for exploiting artists. And when they move into the metaverse, they're going to bring all that with them. But I think, Jen, you made a great point with like the history he had with his label and how he wants to change that. I think this is going to go in a good direction. So I'm very hopeful. I'm gonna give it back to Zach. I see you now. Yeah, that's
always
right.
bullish on Snoop.
All right, well, let's start wrapping it up there. All right, I'm going to look back to my two-shot. Me and Will, we're here in Denver at ETH Denver. We're here. We're live. We're doing this thing. We're going to be doing the hash here tomorrow as well, so that's going to be cool. Check that out. It's pretty wild here.
It's fun.
It's pretty wild here at the castle, one of the venues. But, yep, been a busy couple days, and a busy few more are in store. So thanks for joining us today. I'm Zach Seward. That's Will Foxley. Sanli Handagama. Jen Sanasi are here. The band is getting going behind us.
Loud.
I don't know if you can hear that. It's kind of wild. Stick with us on CoinDesk TV, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's all about ETH. We're usually bringing you all about Bitcoin. Not this week. All about ETH is live from ETH Denver today and tomorrow. All right. That's it. I'm Zach. It's Will. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Hash. Bye.
Thanks, guys.